if sexual violence is so common, why are so many survivors afraid to come forward? Hey class, welcome to Abroad Sex Education, where we unpack the conversations about sex and sexuality we were never taught but deserve to have. I'm your host, sex educator, and researcher on rape culture, Sin. In part 2, we're examining systems, trauma responses, institutional failures, and social conditioning that make rape and sexual assault some of the most underreported and difficult crimes to prosecute. Because understanding rape culture isn't about understanding perpetrators. It's also about understanding what survivors are forced to navigate afterwards. For part 2, we still have Brooklyn and Asa here.
We are here back again.
We have not fled the scene yet.
Yes, I didn't spook you yet. This podcast is a sex education resource for adults. We have real inclusive conversations about human sexuality, relationships, consent, identity, and culture. Today's lesson includes discussion of rape, sexual assault, coercion, abuse, misogyny, and violence against women. Some listeners may find these topics emotionally difficult or triggering. Please take care while listening. Our goal is not to sensationalize harm, but to examine how culture, systems, and social conditioning shape the way society understands consent and sexual violence. For help in the U.S., call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673 or visit rainn.org. International resources are also linked in the episode description. You deserve to know what this conversation includes so you can make an informed choice to listen or not. That's what consent looks like, even here. So, we're still in the sociology section. Why don't people report? Well, as someone that's experienced this, I can tell you exactly why. I've looked up some of the research, but I can also tell you from personal experience. So some people might not report because they don't immediately acknowledge it or label it as an assault, trauma, or even rape or sexual abuse. They fear that people won't believe them, and this one was a big for me. I genuinely didn't think anyone was going to believe me when I said anything because it was my word as a child versus an adult, and we're taught as a society to respect your elders. And
I think a lot of those people in those instances tell the child, no one will believe you.
Right.
Yeah.
And we emphasize that a lot with what's happening in the world. Look at what happened with the Anita Hill and Christine Blasey Ford cases, where on a public stage, these institutions did not do anything when people were coming out and saying, like, oh, I was sexually assaulted. There's a fear of retaliation. This is especially if someone is in a position of power, like is your boss. So there's a fear of something happened to you for reporting. There's a sense of feeling ashamed that they should have known better or they'd be blamed. Children who experience it, feeling like, I'm going to get in trouble because this is something that I let happen, even though the survivor is not in the wrong. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're not able to emotionally handle the process of reporting, and we'll see why. That is really difficult. Right. They also sometimes just want to forget about it, like they just want to move on from it, which is understandable because it's such a difficult thing. And they sometimes don't believe that it will do anything or it will erase the trauma. So like they just don't believe in the justice system enough to do anything.
Which is completely understandable considering that judges are saying things like, well, it comes from a good family. Mm-hmm. That's a valid concern.
Yeah. So why are these cases notoriously difficult to prosecute? Well, the cases need to prove lack of consent, which is difficult if there's no witnesses or if it happens behind closed doors. There is usually a lack of evidence, either DNA or signs of resistance. It's not something that's easy to get in these cases. And especially if it's sexual assault where someone groping you, it's hard to get evidence of that. It ends up being a very she said, he said situation. There is a delay in reporting due to shock, fear, and shame, and that could lead to the loss of forensic evidence if there is any DNA. Mm-hmm. Rape cases are notoriously backfilled. There's not enough resources to review all the rape kits that are even with the police now. Because of the trauma of going through a sexual assault, it kind of messes with your memory, and I can say this from experience as well. Like, I can remember who did the thing to me, but I cannot give you every instance of the exact day and moment things happen.
This is also talked about in The Body Keeps the Score, about how trauma victims have that issue where they're like in broken pieces or whatever, and then law enforcement's like, well, we need every detail.
Yeah.
But it's like, but that's not how the brain works.
Yeah. It's hard for me to remember moments of my childhood because It was like from the ages of 5 to 13. So it was like 8 years of my life. And so my memory in that time frame is like really, really spotty.
I think as an anecdote, that's actually a really good one because I would say that you have a very good memory for things since then. And I think like everybody says like I don't remember what I did as a kid, but in my conversations with you, I've noticed a very clear distinction between like what you can remember from the time that that was happening versus what you can remember from not that time. And that's very clear to me. That really does affect your mental,
Right.
Your neural network of all that is very
Yeah, your brain trying to protect itself.
Yeah.
Versus like when it's safe.
And that's why defense attorneys will use that to undermine your credibility in court. And like that's a traumatizing thing in itself to go through where like someone
Right.
is accusing you
Yeah.
of this thing
Please,
that has
all these
happened.
things that were terrible for you.
Yeah.
And then like calling you a liar or whatever,
Right. It becomes a she said, he said situation, and it becomes hard to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's what you would need in the court of law. It's typically perpetuated by someone the survivor knew, so it obviously creates uncomfortable tension, and most cases are deemed unfounded and not credible by the police. Those cases not considered credible by the police don't even make it to court. They can be reported, but nothing even happens to the court. That specifically happened to me as a kid. It was reported. It's like went through Child Protective Services, CPS system, but my parents did not want to press charges, so he was never prosecuted for any of his crimes. They were just sort of like, well, maybe he can get deported or something like that. But they just didn't want to deal with it because it was like a family moment. They just wanted to like disconnect, which I don't agree with. I think he should have been prosecuted and should have put in jail because we're just allowing this to happen again to someone else, and that's not okay.
Yeah, that does seem to be a constant pairing with predators is that it's never just like a one-time thing. Like it's almost,
You have that tendency.
yeah.
This is also why I could never accuse my ex officially, because that was a situation that just happened between him and I in the midst of sleeping at nighttime. There potentially could have been evidence, but like even the next day when we woke up and he was like, I don't want you to think that I raped you. That is a situation where the gray area like falls in.
Because you were like, you didn't have evidence, you felt like?
Because I didn't label it as a rape in that moment. If I had, I could have got evidence because I could have got a rape kit and done the swabbing and the testing.
What is a rape kit?
A rape kit is like a test where they use like a swab on the walls of like the vaginal canal to get the DNA of the assailant.
You do a swab and you see if there's DNA in there that's not just yours.
The nurse will do a swab and they will look for the DNA of the assailant.
That's what I'm getting at. Is like, do you have to have the DNA or just detecting there is DNA in there that is not yours?
Yeah,
They
I
would
think it's like
match it.
looking for like sperm, right? Is it usually like
Yeah, so like they tell you like don't wash or clean yourself
Right.
after this traumatic event.
Yeah.
Go straight to the doctor so that they could do a rape kit and swab
Got it. I see.
it as is everything
Yeah.
that's
I
there.
see.
And I'm guessing even if a guy didn't ejaculate, that there would still be DNA in there.
Yeah, it has to be done within a time frame. And that's why it says that the delay in reporting because of the shock, fear, and shame make it difficult and can lead to the loss of evidence.
Right, because you might be reflecting on that for a day and then you've already lost the window.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, do I want to put myself through this? Like,
Yeah.
do I have the courage to do this?
Yeah.
And then you might, by the time you get it, it might be too late for the evidence.
So, how does the U.S. respond to sexual violence? There are 3 specific laws that I wanted to bring up here. So the first one is the Violence Against Women Act. This was passed in 1994. This created federal protections, funding for survivor services, crisis centers, prevention programs, and legal support. This was passed as part of the 1994 crime bill after a growing national awareness around domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. The next one is Title IX, which passed in 1972. It was initially passed to prevent sex-based discrimination in schools receiving federal funding. However, it eventually became a major legal framework for addressing sexual harassment and sexual assault on colleges' campuses. The other one specific to California is the California Affirmative Consent Law, which is also known as the Yes Means Yes Law. It was passed in 2014, and it requires ongoing affirmative consent in California college campus investigations. So it was passed in response to the growing conversations around campus sexual assault and the limits of relying on no as just the standard for consent. These laws exist because sexual violence is recognized as a systemic issue and not a individual one. I like the analogy that you brought up at the end of the last episode where, again, if I gave you chocolate-covered blueberries and 2 of these chocolate-covered blueberries are covered in shit, do you still want them? And I'd be like, no, that's fine. That is a good analogy of recognizing the problem that I want to go into more about in this lesson. So, the big social media theoretical question that has popped up a lot is man versus bear. And I think that this is I know I would choose the bear. Most women would choose the bear. And the argument is obviously that with a bear, the worst thing a bear can do is kill you. The worst thing a man can do to you is not just kill you, but rape you. And so that's why most women would choose the bear over the man. This reframe from the social media account, and it's a woman who helps her husband with these theoretical questions that have to do with rape culture and like how women are viewed on the world.
She helps him understand it?
Yeah, like they talk it through.
Cool.
And she was like, would you rather be in a prison bathroom or in the woods with a bear?
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, and he was like, just the fact that he could feel that sense of dread and the empathy of being able to put it in that situation, he was like, oh, okay, like I understand that. Because for a woman, a man alone in the woods is the same as a man in the prison bathroom.
Our world is the prison bathroom.
Yeah.
I like the reframe on prison bathroom.
When men hear this and they're like, but yeah, what is the very common response that men will hear when they get defensive about this?
Not all men.
Not all men. Well, I've listed a range of categories that men fall into. I've divided that up here. So there's men who rape and murder. Then there are men who harass, threaten, or verbally abuse. There are men who hold traditional values and rigid views on gender stereotypes. There are men who are sexist, homophobic, and transphobic. There are men who don't do any of this but think it's funny. There are men who don't agree and they don't engage with it. There are men who don't agree but don't know how to step up. There are men who speak out on it and call out bad behaviors. And then there's also men who prevent one from happening.
I think this is good. I know that I struggle as a person who is a non-combative, conflict avoidant kind of individual to engage when other people are doing things that I don't agree with. And I have struggled with that in the past, something that I still work on. And I think that there is an echelon to recognizing that inaction is lack of action, and inaction is flawed, right? And it is important to take action when something is setting off the alarm bells, right? So if I can speak to the people who are probably in those like nice little kind of bars, but maybe not all the way to the top, it is that like extra level of genuinely speaking and actively engaging in that space. Because I have done that. I wouldn't say that I've prevented a rape from happening. I don't know that I've ever been in a situation where I could have prevented a rape from happening, but I'm confident that I'm in that tier below that because I have definitely done that. And I think that like I'm speaking not as a way to justify my own actions, but I'm saying it's really important to listen when you hear that little alarm going off that says, ooh, this is that ick feeling, right? Of this exchange that's happening or this conversation, or maybe there's no women in the room and it's just men, right? That happens enough, and it's important to take that time to actually act on it and to say something or to really like, hey, I'm going to stop and like, let's talk about what just happened or what you just said, or is that really how we're going to leave that conversation the way it just was?
Yeah.
And I think you said something really eloquently, which was like, one of the things I've struggled with is to not engage it, but I'm working on it. And I think that's all we're asking is for like men, if you're not a rapist, then maybe try to move up the step, up the ladder to a better one. And it's, if you're just working on it, that's still an improvement as opposed to like, well, I don't do it, so that's enough.
Right.
Because that isn't enough at this point.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I could also recommend, if you have a man in your life that, you know, is also in that range as well, is men don't catch the things women catch because obviously they're not the ones under fire. So they don't see all the things that are burning like we do. And I've done this with you. It was me telling you like, hey, there are people that we surround ourselves with that have very predatory behaviors or have a tendency to make comments or jokes or make people uncomfortable. And I think it would be great if you could talk to them about it, because I know if it came from me, it's not going to do anything.
Especially if it's a person that already doesn't respect women, they're not going to hear it coming from a woman.
Yeah. So pointing that out to men who don't know how to do something is a great way to support those men who also want to go up the scale and prevent one from happening. The next slide is the mental load of navigating safety. So these are just the things that women do to prevent themselves from not getting raped. And this is not even a full list. There's so much more that women do.
I already see one that I want to comment on. The very first one is sharing location with friends. So me and several of my friends do that, where we share locations with each other. Last weekend, I was talking to one of my male friends about that, and he was kind of taken aback and was like, sharing location? Like, had no idea what I was talking about. And I was like, yes, like I share my location with several of my friends, and they share theirs with me because we have to look out for each other.
Yeah. I'll share my location with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
same.
But yeah, that is a very common practice, and especially when you're on a date, which is one of the next one. Texting when arriving home safely, watching your drinks at a bar and parties. One product I wanted to mention here is Nightcap. They create drink spiking prevention products. The one that they have is super cool. There's a person online that made like a scrunchie where you can remove the drink spiking prevention product and then put it over your drink, and then the straw will fit through. They're designed to help protect drinks at bars, parties, festivals, and social events. If you want to stay safe and have your own drink spiking prevention products, I have an affiliate link in the show description, and my discount code is nightcap10-abroadsexed, and there are no spaces in between that.
Nice.
Women avoid walking alone at night, and we're also told to hold your keys between your hands. That's so you can like stab someone if you need to. We're told to carry self-defense tools like tasers, pepper spray, etc. There's a new self-defense tool that's coming out. The company that is making the rape prevention silicone insert is called Venus Guard, and I will link their Instagram in the show description. That silicone insertion that has the wires inside of it, so if someone tries to rape you,
Internal condom.
it's like a
spikes.
yeah.
So
It's actually in production.
That started in South Africa because there's myths around if you have HIV, the cure is to have sex with a virgin. So a little girl in South Africa was more likely to be raped than she is to learn to read.
Yeah, you have to go to a doctor to get them removed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to interview that company. I want to reach out to them because they're trying to mass produce it.
Do they
And like,
make it for adults too?
that's what they're trying to. They're
That's
trying to make it for
sick.
adults
That's
now.
so cool.
Yeah, and they even have had volunteers test the products. Like men wanted to support.
Gave me chills.
Yeah,
From
and
those guys.
so they like tested the product, even though it's difficult and it's painful. But it doesn't hurt to wear. It has a silicone insertion thing.
That's so badass.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a cool
It's
thing.
amazing.
Yeah. Women also plan exit strategies. It's just like kind of that sense of being on edge and aware. But you have to stay aware of your surroundings, but also stay aware if you are incapacitated. So if you're intoxicated, there's just like, don't drink too much because you never know what could happen to you at night. Checking in with friends, avoiding isolated situations. So avoid being in situations where men are at. Gauging men's reactions to rejection. Like you have to say no politely. But in my experience, even when I've said things in a nicer way, you still get that attack, like you're a bitch and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
My favorite is when they call you a slut because you don't want to sleep with them.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
the right-hand side is a good list for if navigating the safety in environments, or if it could be someone you know. Since 60% of perpetrators are someone you know, trust your discomfort or if you feel pressure. Recognize coercion from people you know. Notice any controlling behaviors of the people around you. Set and follow through on your boundaries, even in relationships. Understand that consent can be withdrawn at any point. And know that manipulation can happen even in familiar environments. Yeah.
Well, we were just talking about, like, we're not as open to men that we haven't met before. Before, in these situations where I would be at a bar drinking, I either had a friend with me that I could trust to look out for me,
Right.
or if I was, like, I'm thinking of a time I was in New York with my other good friend, and we were drunk, and it was like 4 a.m. because the bars stay open. And so we're like, okay, I need to find a man to walk us back to our Airbnb that we trust in this bar. But you do have to make a very quick assessment of,
Someone's character.
yes,
The
and like, is this a
situation.
safe person? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also why Uber and rideshare companies are getting a lot of shit right now, is because there's a lot of predatory people canceling rides and then assaulting women.
That's gross.
So it's not very good. I don't try to use them because, again, the bad rap that they have and the lack of action from Uber, Lyft, and a lot of those rideshare companies.
Right.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't have a history on their record, then a background check doesn't help. But so, like, how do you navigate that?
Especially since these are all just gig workers. They can just join the job. There's no vetting or background checks or anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
I think the big thing for this mental load list, right, is it's such an extensive, pervasive problem of security that your daily life of you're so affected by that, right? Like I cannot imagine going through and doing the mental checklist of, do I have my, little self-defense tool? Do I have my location shared to somebody? Did I text somebody to remind me that I'm going on this date, that I'm going to be at this location? Like all of that stuff is just added tasks to your day. And I genuinely think that men, myself included, forget about this, forget about how much people are considering when they go on dates or when they go out, right? Like, because it's scary and it is a lot to think about. And then I am guilty of this too, is like, I can be a little bit victim blamey in some cases because I think of like, oh, well, like, how did you get in this situation to begin with? Like, and I don't consider the fact of like, well, the fact is that unless you want to give up on your hobbies, right? Unless you want to give up on going to that club that you really like to go on because you've had one bad experience there or because there's a risk or something like that. Like you have to just have all this weight or something happen. And this list wouldn't be this way if people didn't prove time and time again that this is necessary, right? So
Well, we have a friend that has the not all men mentality. And I was having a conversation with him one time because he told me, like, what's one of your hobbies? And obviously, like, a lot of my hobbies are just solo things inside, right? So I was like, hiking.
safe and secure.
Exactly. Exactly. I was like, all right, I go outside sometimes, hiking. And so his question was, if a man approached you on a hike and I said, well, let me stop you there. I'm reaching for my taser.
Yeah.
If a guy is approaching me on a hike, some strangers in the room, women, overheard, and they start snapping their fingers because they're like, yes, that's why women choose the bear. These women that have no context can recognize and identify with my conversation. And the man is like, I'm just trying to get a date. Like, why can't I approach this woman on a hiking trail? Like, it's not the time. So, like, yeah, she might be a little defensive if you approach her in these situations because she's like, oh, okay, all it's like aggressive, rapey men are out here.
yeah, agreed. So, how can men help? Which is what you were asking. So, prevention requires participation. These are a list of different things men can do. You can challenge harmful jokes and language publicly or in private with any men that you know that make them. You can interrupt harmful behaviors early. That is also checking in on situations that you think may be sketchy. So if you see someone that's clearly intoxicated and someone kind of being a little creepy, like checking in on those people, or, help someone leave safely. Like Brooklyn was saying, if you're at a bar and you see that some people are starting to feel uncomfortable, some of our guy friends have done it where 3 or 4 of them will walk women to their cars when we go to our late night game group thing. So it's like the community of having a group there to help and protect and keep women safely. So like trusted men that want to make sure that women get home safely. So
Well, I think, like, coming back to your comment about, like, I don't know that I've ever prevented a rape. I think in those instances, that is preventing a rape, whether you'll never know if one was going to occur or not. But like parties where somebody's too intoxicated or in a bar where you're watching somebody's drink or walking, walk to their car. Those are instances where you're preventing one.
yeah. I think the challenging harmful jokes and behavior is a big one, especially for preventing rapes or sexual assaults from people who do them to people they know or who premeditate their assault. So if you notice some, toxic masculinity there, you can talk that through with someone. You can normalize communication and consent. I think asking questions, respecting someone's boundaries or emotional vulnerability, but also building a community with other men, I think is really important, where you can talk about these things openly and learn to express your emotions. I think that is a really big one. And I talk about it literally in the last however many episodes that I've done. You can listen without defensiveness, avoid the not all men mindset, and just avoid immediate skepticism. Just choose empathy over ego. Sometimes support means listening instead of centering your own discomfort. It's okay for you to be uncomfortable. This whole lesson is a very uncomfortable one, but it's still important to have. Another one is reflect on the social conditioning, which if you are listening to this podcast, you're already doing. Listening to this lesson specifically is a great way to do that.
And share it with your male friend.
Yeah. And then the other thing is support survivors and resources. So believe people if they tell you they've been assaulted, encourage support, share resources like this podcast and other resources that I add to the end of this lesson. And then support any prevention programs and get involved. For more information, visit Futures Without Violence at futureswithoutviolence.org. Another thing, and this is just extra credit homework because I talk about him so much, I love him so much, and I'm going to tag him in this episode when I post about him. But we are going to go see him. But easy homework, watch Daniel Sloss's X on Max, which is HBO's streaming platform. But this is Daniel Sloss. He is a comedic genius. But he did a stand-up special called X, and it's one of my favorite. His other one is also Jigsaw. It's my favorite, but this is a second favorite stand-up special of all time. And I think this is one of the best ones that men could easily support and share with each other.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful one because, one, it is coming from another man, and he did this, like, how long ago did he do that special?
I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago. It was a long time
So
ago.
he did it 5 years ago, let's say, before there was even as much need now. Like, he was already seeing the need. It wasn't as in the light, and he was addressing it, and I just have so much respect for him, in addition to his talent as a comedian.
Yeah. Let me see what a year. 2019. Okay.
Amazing.
It was such a good special. So good. So good. Cannot recommend enough. I still watch it every so often. Yeah. It's genuinely so funny. And it's a great message. Can't wait to see him. So excited. Anyway, I mentioned this in the consent notice, but for any survivors that need support in the U.S., you can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673 or chat 24/7 at rain.org. And internationally, the UN Women has a directory of different resources available for women who are experiencing this. National agencies are also on the Pixel Project as well. Yeah. All this to say that harmful behaviors can be unlearned. This is for anyone that is noticing harmful behaviors and want to change them. Accountability requires honesty and action. Therapy, prevention programs, and intervention resources do exist. They're definitely out there, and I will link some of them in the description as well. Seek help before someone gets hurt, because it's not okay to hurt anyone.
We have enough hurt people, so just don't hurt anyone.
Yeah, that's it for this whole sociology section, which is huge. But next we're going to be going to the pop quiz. But before we go, did you want to add any more comments?
I think my biggest one is from your entire slide is like challenging language, because I think that for male listeners and men who happen to be listening, right, I think that the biggest thing that you can do is identify those opportunities to kind of like pause and allow other people the opportunity to reflect on what they have said. Because I think there's a lot of moments where men communicate in a men-only, male-only space in a way that is kind of looking for support or acknowledgement or validation in their own perceptions or interactions with women, whether that's dating or otherwise, right? And I think that, to me, that's the biggest opportunity, because it seems to me like a lot of men have some social shame when in shared co-ed spaces, right, where they're not going to outright make a comment that's derogatory towards a woman or whatever, right? But I think in men-only spaces, I don't necessarily believe that to be the same truthfulness. So I think that, at least in my angle, that's the thing that comes to mind front and center is like, if you're a listener and you happen to be in one of those spaces and you catch something that comes across, well, just take a moment to pause and actually hit home on that, right? Don't just let that sweep under the rug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of like thinking what you might say in that situation ahead of time. What's like a universal thing you could say, and then throwing that out there so that person doesn't think of it that way. Especially if these men, a lot of them have great relationships with their mom, but not as good of relationships with their dad. You could just throw it out there like, hey man, you wouldn't like that if somebody said that about your mom. Like that's such an easy one that could be universally applied.
Right.
All right. Ready for our pop quiz?
I don't know. Let's see.
Oof.
It's another surprise rape. Okay.
Yeah. This is also the
You know what they say, whatever's on the lessons ends up on the exam.
the image they're talking about is the Tarquin and Lucretia. This one is specifically from Felice Ficciarelli, also called Il Riposo.
Who's that asshole in the back who's just like
He's the
hanging out?
bystander. He's the guy that's
Yeah.
not standing up.
Yeah. This was in 1640, and again, this was Sextus Tarquinius threatening Lucretia with a dagger before assaulting her. First one. Question number 1. In the U.S., how often is someone sexually assaulted? A, every 4 minutes, B, every 30 seconds, C, every 9 minutes, or D, every 1 minute?
Do you want to answer first?
I unfortunately know the answer, so I can't answer it.
Okay. I think I know the answer because it's sexually assaulted, so it's not just rape or aggravated rape. So I'm going to say B, every 30 seconds.
Okay. I will also like to note that all of these statistics are based on what is reported. And since this is also,
So multiply that times at least 3.
this is one of the most underreported crimes in our
Yeah.
society. Just,
I would now like to change my answer.
okay.
I think it's A.
A, every 4 minutes?
Yeah.
The answer would be the reported, right? So,
Yeah,
Yes,
the answer would be
yeah.
the reported.
okay.
Yeah. So the reported one, I would say every 4.
So the answer for this one is D, every 1 minute.
Dang.
Every 1 minute, someone is sexually assaulted in the United States. And every 9 of those minutes, it's a child.
So now I feel like even every 30 seconds is not even close to equivalent just because it's reported and because we're including children in it. Like I think about the Catholic Church and I think about how many victims came forward versus how many did not come forward.
Yeah. All of the sources from these stats are going to be added in the resources. Question number 2. How many women in the U.S. have experienced attempted or completed rape? A, 1 in 5, B, 1 in 4, C, 1 in 15, or D, 1 in 20?
So I thought it was 1 in 3, but since that is not up there, I'm going to say B, 1 in 4.
I unfortunately know the answer, so I cannot answer this one.
The answer is A, 1 in 5. 1 in 3 is actually the amount of female victims who experience it for the first time between the ages of 11 to 17.
Okay.
Yeah. So 1 in 3 women will experience it between the ages of 11 to 17. Abhorrent. All of these are abhorrent. The next one. How many men in the United States experience sexual violence in their lifetime? A, 32.2%, B, 41.2%, C, 24.8%, or D, 20.4%?
I'm going to say, with the caveat that most of the sexual violence men experience is from other men, D, 20.4%.
Yeah, I was going to go between C, 24.8, or D, 20.8. I'll go with C, 24.
The answer is C, 24.8%. Yeah.
I am being dethroned as valedictorian. I'm doing terrible.
This doesn't count because I cheated and saw the answers to the
Okay.
questions before the quiz.
Yeah.
It's graded on a curve. First off, you got the cheat code
Yeah,
and didn't
yeah,
share. That's
right.
fine.
Everyone that listens to this is a superstar student, so don't worry about that. But yeah, that is 24.8. And like you said, most sexual violent experiences that men experience are usually men who hurt men. But that is not to say there are definitely women who have sexually assaulted men. I am not negating that. That is a fact, and that does happen.
Right. Like this number statistically, also too high. I don't like that men are also being sexually
Right.
assaulted. Yeah.
This is abhorrent, and we are also upset for the men who've experienced this as well. Question number 4. How much does sexual violence cost the United States within the lifetime of the people who get assaulted?
So one person life, the life of one person.
Is it also covering the cost of the person in prison?
In terms of cost the United States, it's through healthcare, emotional impacts, loss of incomes, legal system, and recovery costs.
So legal system is including like the perpetrator being in prison. Lifetime economic burden. So it's like the
burden. So
lifespan.
is this one life?
Or like all the lives, but like one lifetime from like this 75
How do you
years.
even calculate that?
Yeah. And I also feel like once you see numbers like billion and trillion, I'm like, well, that's monopoly money. It doesn't mean anything to me.
This is the total lifetime economic burden across the U.S. So A, 1.2 billion, B, 3.1 trillion, C, 95.3 million, or D, 8.1 billion.
Big numbers.
I know. I feel like it's one of the billions, but it's so hard for me to wrap my
I
head
can't
around even 1 billion that I'm like, is 8 billion more? A lot more?
Yeah, it's like inconceivable to me to like make a decision here. I'm just gonna go with the biggest. Well, $8 billion.
I know.
It's not
it's
$8 billion.
outrageous.
Jeff Bezos has more. Nah, it's got to be like 1.2 billion. Like a 1.2.
This
Oh,
is
but
the modest millionaire.
trillion's even an option.
Yeah, I know.
Trillion is an
It
option.
can't be that because I can't. What else? It can't be that.
What the hell? What is a trillion? Like, I mean, really, who's counting?
That's what I mean. Like it's such a.
I'm going A, 1.2 billion.
I'm gonna go D, 8.1 billion.
You're probably right.
A modest billionaire.
The answer is B, 3.1 trillion.
Shut
So,
up.
I don't even know how much money that is.
yeah.
That's more money than almost half the people
That's just
in the world.
what 1 trillion is the estimated portion of total paid by the government and public system. Like our taxpayer money has paid $1.1 trillion. There's literally a US national debt calculator. 39 trillion.
Wow. So I feel like
Almost 10%.
yeah, that's
Almost
actually a
10%
huge
of
portion.
our
We could
total
be paying off our
expenses.
debt.
Mm-hmm.
Giving me a credit score from there. The audacity.
Okay, the next one.
You in worse shape than the national debt.
Question number 5. What's the estimated lifetime cost of rape per survivor?
Oh, this is an interesting statistic.
A, $82,345. B, $192,304. C, $122,461. Or D, $296,203.
I'm such an analytical nerd. Like, I'm like already trying to like spreadsheet this out about like, oh, what would it cost for like therapy and like potential like legal fees plus like lost income? Like, what is that possibly going to
Well,
per
I think this-
lifetime?
I think this is actually a modest number because it's not factoring in the way that trauma affects your brain and the follow-ups of like, now I have to cope and I have a drug addiction. Now I have to go to rehab.
Right,
And like
right.
those I don't even think are factored in there.
I mean, it is PubMed, and I respect PubMed. I am gonna guess B 192,000.
I think it's D 296.
It is C, $122,461.
Still insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still insane.
That is more than most people in the United States make in a year.
Yeah. And then the last one. Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm doing so bad on all of these.
Question number 6. What percentage of perpetrators walk free?
Oh, I hate this one.
A, 82%, B, 98%, C, 93%, or D, 89%.
When you say walk free, does that mean they were on trial and then released?
They were reported by the police, but nothing came of it. Either he was thrown out in court, the case didn't go through, like the police stopped the investigation.
Oh, right. Okay.
A, 82%, B, 98%, C, 93%, or D, 89%.
Super depressing. I'm gonna be optimistic and go with A, and just hope.
I'm going to continue my losing streak and go C, 93%.
All right. It is B,
Damn.
98%.
Fucked.
I was really hoping that wasn't the correct answer.
Yeah. 1 in 3 victims report sexual assault to law enforcement. So this is just of the reported.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Report.
Well, and even there is a newer documentary on Netflix about the FLDS. And one of the women who was she was a wife of this man that was sexually assaulting women and young girls. And she even said that like she needed another person to come forward with her because they wouldn't believe just her.
Yeah, there were a few cases similar to the one with Giselle that I was reading about. One of them was a woman named Zoe Watts from the UK. Her husband would add sleeping pills to her tea and would rape her at nighttime. And he confessed after coming back from church one night. Even in her interview, she would still struggle with calling what happened to her rape. We worry about who's coming behind us, walking down the street, or even who's friending us on Facebook. You know, we worry about going to our car late at night in the car park, but we don't worry about who you lie next to. And I didn't realize I had to. So that was a quote from her. And then there was another woman. Her name was Amanda Stanhope. She was raped in her sleep in a 5-year period, and her partner would always gaslight her. And she would wake up and know because, like, she said, one time I woke up and there was a towel underneath me. So one time I woke up and all my clothes were taken off. And at some point, the police had found videos and photo evidence. And there was one piece of evidence they found where it's very clear from the photo that he committed a sexual act on her face while she was unconscious. And she said in the video, like, I thought, this is it. You have the evidence. This is clear. He did it. I'm pretty sure it was a photo because it was a photo he shared on an online forum. So she's like, there you go. That's the evidence. And they were like, no, it just looks like you're pretending to be asleep. So this isn't usable evidence.
Well, and that's so discouraging because you think like, well, in your own home, you don't have a camera going all the time. And so, but she literally did have that. Like she had photographic evidence and they were still like, well, I can't be sure.
Well, I think this is a video that he took.
Right.
Or a
Yeah.
picture that he took.
Yeah.
In the UK, more than a quarter of rapes happen when the victim is asleep. So
How many? More than a quarter?
more than a quarter.
That's too much.
So all this to
I
say,
don't like that that's a thing.
yeah. So these statistics, as abhorrent as they are stuff that we need to face. And we need to really actually realize how much of a problem this is. Because again, I thought we all agreed as a society that this is not okay. And I do think there is still that belief that this is not okay. And I hope this lesson really helps men figure out how they can support women in doing this. Because as much as women want to do something and women can talk about it, the best thing that women can do is recruit men to help us with this.
Right.
Because it's a society issue that we can all help and work towards. It's not only a women's issue, this is a men's issue too.
Right, because women are the ones doing it.
Right.
So, to each other.
Rape culture is not sustained by one person alone. It is shaped by systems, silence, reinforcement, and social behavior, which means culture can change when people choose to participate in changing it. If harmful behavior can be learned and normalized, then empathy, accountability, and prevention can be learned too. Culture is not fixed. People shape culture every day through what they normalize, excuse, ignore, challenge, and teach. That's it for this lesson. A heavy topic for the entire thing. Thank you so much for listening. It means a lot. This is the aspect of human sexuality that I'm most passionate about and that drives my work and what I do because of my personal experience with rape and sexual assault. I created this platform because I wanted to prevent this from happening to people, and I think being aware and informed is the best way to do that.
Yeah, and I think this is a good way to start that conversation with your circle of people that you know by sharing this podcast and bringing it up and talking about it and discussing it to start those conversations.
Yeah. Any last takeaways before we conclude?
No, just very happy to have been a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do better. Social shame.
Yeah.
All those things.
And if you recognize these behaviors and don't like them, then get the help that you need.
Oh, like in yourself, yes.
Yeah. And then if you are a survivor of sexual assault, there is support for you. In the U.S., you can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673 or chat 24/7 at rain.org. And internationally, the UN Women has a directory of different resources available for women who are experiencing this. National agencies are also on the Pixel project as well. Have any questions about human sexuality? Submit it anonymously using the link in the show notes. If this episode helped you understand something a little better, share it with a friend, because the best way to destigmatize sex is to talk about it. Follow the show to stay updated on future lessons. And if you want to go deeper, grab the Essential Sex Conversations workbook by joining the newsletter. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.